On behalf of Mayor Curry, who is running a bit late, I would like to call the meeting to order, and I presume we need a roll call.
Yes, the record will reflect that currently Mayor Curry and Councilmember Webb are absent.
All right. And then the next agenda item would be clarification of items on the consent calendar. Councilwoman Daigle.
Yes, let me just figure out, am I live?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. A couple questions on number 9. What I'm hearing from staff is that maybe a more simple fix would be just to delete the horse license provision than to sort of develop a lot of regulation along those lines. If you can maybe address that, that would be helpful.
Mayor, members of council, staff would support that notion because we've not had a lot of problem with it. So we could just handle it on a code enforcement basis.
Okay, thank you. And then secondly is on item number 11, I believe it's 11, let me get my notes here. Right, we're going to be continuing a revenue stream already at that property with the revenue in effect. Is there any other opportunities for immediate revenue from that lot?
Do you mean from the parking or from the building?
From the parking.
I don't think so.
Okay, so that person or that entity utilizes all the parking?
Yes.
Okay, and then we're moving forward with some type of a plan to redevelop that lot to ultimately get more revenue?
Yes, and I believe we will be back at the next meeting with a report on that.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Council Member Gardner.
A couple of things. One, I really miss having any minutes from the Planning Commission meetings. It's really hard. I mean, I read it and it says, okay, this particular entity was open until 10 and now it's open until 2:30 a.m. And it would be sort of interesting to get even if it's not appealed, to get the rationale behind that. So, I don't know. That's just my feelings that I don't really understand what's going on at the Planning Commission, and that's they make so many decisions there that if we could have maybe an expansion of that.
Dead silence. This is a position that Mr. Alipo and I have talked about whether or not to fill that individual's position who used to take the minutes, which is why we went to action minutes. The thought was, though, that if the meetings remain taped, and that there should be a way to make that available to you if you had a specific case that did come to you, we would take those verbatim minutes from the tape. But we wouldn't do the entire meeting.
Without having to sit through the entire meeting, perhaps.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'd have to work with David on the staffing.
All right, well, that makes sense. I didn't realize what the background was, so that's it. Number 6, the water taxi. I would urge that the city include a question because I think that not just visitors, but it would be very important if residents want to use that and support it. So I think that we were talking about doing a city survey, and there was a suggestion that the residents might be questioned in that, and I would encourage that. And then just a note on number 7 and 17. Number 9 just reads a little oddly. So I think I understand what it means, but it says the event need not always be free, but events that are not free should have a fee. Well, duh. So,
well, they should.
I think so, but anyway, that just sort of struck me as you might want to look at the language there a little bit and clear it up.
Councilman Webb.
I have no items for clarification.
Councilman Selich.
I have nothing.
And Councilman Rosansky.
None, thank you.
And I have none. And so the next item of business is the Orange County 211 presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. This is another opportunity for the council to hear at a much earlier hour the presentation from the folks who attempted very sincerely to bring you a presentation on Orange County 211. So without further ado, I'll introduce them. And we're in new digs tonight, so the best podium is over there, that direction. If you need to use the computer, that works too. So thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
I will do that. I am Steve Lemler. I'm a Vista serving with 211 Orange County. With me today is Judy Bowden, our Executive Director and a resident of Newport Beach. If you have any questions I can't answer, then I'm sure that she can. First thing I wanted to do was to ask everyone's level of comfort and knowledge of what 211 is and how we serve the community. Got a little bit of it. Okay, and that's about what we've been getting, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this awareness campaign this year. Is this asleep? No, I got it. It'll come up in a second. Okay. And what? Someone's thank you. And Dave, again, thank you very much for your courtesy and your kindness. We all know about 911. 911 is a service that gives us access, immediate access to emergency services, police, fire, paramedics. Thank you. 211 is the alternate to that. Oh, good, we're up. 211 is the flip side of 911 in that we help, let me skip this section. We help people with all the other urgencies and issues that they have. 211 represents an easy access to over 5,000 agencies and programs in Orange County that help people. When someone calls 211, they're calling a toll-free number. It's an easy 3-digit toll-free number. It's anonymous. They speak with trained specialists with access to those over 5,000 agencies and programs. And here's some of the categories that those agencies and programs service. Anything from parenting education to diapers, baby formula, housing. Housing is a big one. Employment is a big one. Healthcare is very big, including this community. So for someone to say recently lost their job, lost their health insurance, is in the threat is bearing that they're going to lose their apartment or their home, where do they turn? Well, there's a number of government agencies, and as we say here, there's thousands of private, nonprofit agencies willing to help. Each call to 211 usually results in 2 to 3 referrals to different resources, and this is our generic information right now. In 2007, needs increased, calls to 211 increased. In 2008, they increased again, something on the order of 45 to 50%. 2009, again, in the 45% range across the board. I love this slide. The other side of 211 is helping out in an emergency or a disaster. And this is where we're a partner with the Orange County Disaster Response Team. We're connected with many of the first responders groups in the county. And where do you go when the earthquake does happen? And you need to know where the schools are that are open, where are the community centers that are open, the emergency food, the emergency shelter. Where are the hospitals open, and are the roads open to get to the hospitals? These are questions you don't want to be calling 911 for. In fact, 211 handles these calls. During the freeway complex fires, if you were driving down the freeway, you may have noticed that the signs up on the freeway said call 911 for emergencies, but 211 for non-emergencies. And this is where we help out with 911 in the disasters. Matter of fact, the quote right here is from a Florida 211 agency that estimated they took over 60,000 calls that would have been misdirected to 911, freeing up the 911 operators to take more true emergency calls. So 211 initially helps the people directly, but also indirectly helps with disaster response. So in summary, we're a 3-digit phone number. We're no cost to callers. We're confidential, 24/7. Callers can be speaking any one of 150 different languages, and we can still accommodate them. We're a disaster response partner, and in some fashions, we save scarce resources for cities and other agencies. This is something we don't go into too much when we're doing these to the public outreach. But some organizations try and put together directories. And one of the problems with directories is it takes a lot of resources to get the directory together. You get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of faxes. Getting information back and forth takes months. So it's labor intensive. By the time you complete the directory and you're ready to send it out to print, which is another cost, a lot of that information may already be changed or obsolete. Some of the agencies out there may have lost funding and so forth. So we replace the need for directories, and in fact, because our resource database is updated in some cases daily, we are the best single resource in Orange County for access to all these different services. Marketing, misdirected calls are other areas that we help out with as well. The other thing that we offer is to help support the cities and the community and the citizens of our community. And we do so by meeting with you. We do so by meeting with groups that you may designate that you want us to meet with. We do so by asking to advertise our 211 logo and a bit of information both on the website, maybe a link to our website. A number of cities have already asked us to give them short articles for their newsletters. We've been requested also to put together a PSA for city cable television, and we have completed that project, and it is now ready. The other thing we do, and it's in your packet, is those little pocket cards. These are things that people can hand out. One of my first volunteer opportunities with 211 before I came to Vista, we were doing an outreach at the county fair, and we were in the section where they do community services. We were with the homeless prevention group at the time, and next to us was the Orange County Sheriff's Department. And they came over after I was doing a few presentations and asked if they could have some of our resources, especially for the group that had to deal with people who were homeless or being evicted, so that they could at least give them some resource to start with in those trying times. And we have some additional information as well. At this point, I think you have a general idea of what we do and who we are, and I'd like to open to questions. Yes.
I have three questions. One is, are you throughout California or Southern California and other counties?
Good question. 211 is mandated by the FCC but not funded. Within the state, most counties but not all have a 211. And again, we're licensed, if you will, or approved by the PUC to be the 211 for Orange County. Each organization is. But again, we're not funded from that source. So we are an independent. We service, our 211 services Orange County. There's a separate one for LA, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and so forth. The one thing that we do is in times of disaster, we will coordinate our efforts and we will take overflow calls, which happened in the freeway complex fires. San Diego was inundated, pulled in all their emergency volunteers, and we and the other Southern California 211s chipped in and helped out with taking those calls for the first 3 days.
Which leads into my next question. Where do you get your funding?
A little from the county, a little from United Way. This is a good question for Judy. My purpose is to raise awareness, but Judy can tell you more of the details.
We have three primary funders. The County of Orange. In fact, the County of Orange back in '07 gave us a significant technology grant to bring us up to the current infrastructure that we have. And they fund us around $200,000 a year. Children's Families Commission funds us at $200,000, and the United Way funds us at $100,000. And the rest of our money comes from a lot of grant writing.
And then how do you screen, obviously, the governmental agencies that you refer to is one thing, but you say you also work with a lot of nonprofits. Do you have a screening process before you refer?
We do.
All our agencies that are in our database are a 501c3 agency, unless there's a specialized program in the community that's on a sliding fee scale that's unique. So we try to make sure that they're all health and human service agencies, other than there are some city departments in there that we do refer to. We do not favor any one agency. We make sure that the service is close to where the caller is, and so it gets spread across all of Orange County.
Questions? Thank you again for letting us speak, and everyone have a good day.
The next item on the agenda is an update on the 2010-11 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tracy McCraner and I are going to give you this next presentation verbally, as Tracy will start.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to give everyone an update on 2010 before we went over the calendar that I left at everybody's seat. 2010 is coming in as we had projected and as we've come before you in February and March. We're looking, the department savings that you approved has been taken away, and so they're falling nicely into their readjusted budgets. And we're looking closely at each payroll and a biweekly accounts payable batch to make sure they stay within those guidelines. So they're doing a really good job there. Revenues are trending about as we had expected as well, but we'll be coming back to you in the next month or so once we get the final property tax numbers. So for 2011, also going well, I left a budget calendar, and if you turn over to the second side, we have some changes from previous years. As you know, we are not planning on having the departments come and present individually to you. The departments met with Dave, including myself, in early February and committed to some budget numbers as Dave had requested. They've also committed to help us solve the $12 million budget problem that we're still anticipating for 2011, and those numbers have been submitted and they're going into our proposed print in the next couple weeks. So the May 11th meeting that we originally had scheduled for departments has been canceled. We'll be printing in the next couple weeks, and we'll be giving you those proposed drafts probably the first week of May. And then on the 25th, we are intending to come to you for our first budget review and study session with staff. And then everything else, I think, falls within the same timelines as previous years. So, but that budget process is going well. And if you have any questions for us, we just wanted to kind of let you know, not a lot of news, but we're on track. And we're also on track to bridge the budget gaps that we have been talking to you about. Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, it similarly asked to make sure that the council is comfortable with the calendar in that you will have about 3 weeks to review the printed budget document, but as Tracy noted, I'm not anticipating any surprises because we've talked about this with you a couple of times in February and in March, and so at that time when we roll this to you officially on the 25th of May, I just wanted to make sure you're comfortable with that deadline and with that amount of information in advance, and whether you wanted something else previous to that. But that's at least our intention today. If so, quiet meaning assent. And we'll continue to work with the Finance Committee. We briefed them in a little bit more detail yesterday, and we'll continue to do that at each meeting. So, with that, Mr. Mayor and Council, that's all we had to present today with study session. A few things came off the calendar, but so we have a little bit of time, unless you want. We had a fairly detailed amount of things to go into closed session with.
Are there any public comments relative to the budget update? Seeing none, are there any public comments relative to the item not on the agenda?
Can we get an idea of what the headlines in the Register are going to be tomorrow?
Coming to say hi. It's been a good rest, I'm sure. Seeing no further comments, we are adjourned.